Hey everyone, what you're about to watch is the first video of my digital detox program. This video is going to be about why I believe digital detox is so incredibly necessary on the individual level and the collective level when it comes to our society redefining our relationship with technology. So again, this is only the first video in the program I created. If you want access to the entire program, it's going to be linked in my newsletter and also linked below this video, which will then allow you to join a community where this program will become all immediately available to you for free, along with future programs that, whether it's on social media or other aspects of life that make our lives better, will be available to you again absolutely for free. So super excited to kind of start this new venture and incredibly excited to hear the results you guys have following this. So let me know, keep me updated, and enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Digital Detox presentation presented by the Live Better community. In today's video, we're going to be discussing why I believe the far majority of us are in need of a digital detox. We're going to discuss dopamine and how it affects our current actions. And we'll also discuss what will happen if we continue down the road that we're currently going down on the individual level and the collective level as a society with our relationship with technology. This is a precursor to how to actually do detox so we can actually redefine our relationship with social media in a way that serves us instead of serving large corporations. So let's get started. The first example that I want to use to first talk about dopamine is actually going to be a cookie jar. As you see here, we have the old way, cookie jar and a large cookie, and the new way, what seems to be 100 plus chocolate chips. I want to give you some more background of what I mean by this. There used to be an old way that we'd earn dopamine, and dopamine in itself is pretty much the reward system that our brain uses to reward behavior that leads to our evolution and leads to our survival. So in the past, that was, if we can look at these fun pictures here, that was hunting, that was going on adventures, that was having sunlight, that was having sex, that was eating nutritious meals, physical activity, and especially around the community setting. Those were things that would lead to large dopamine hits happen throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout many years. The larger the accomplishment, the bigger the dopamine hit. So the cookie jar example is that oftentimes we wouldn't have dopamine released until maybe a handful of occurrences throughout the day, sometimes one occurrence throughout the day. So it takes a large amount of action to take place for our brain to reward the rest of our body with that feel-good feeling that happens when dopamine is released. So imagine nowadays you work your entire day knowing that at the end of the day, you'll be able to treat yourself to a large cookie. That's how dopamine has worked for the longest period of time. We actually had to have a certain type of action that is aligned with our survival and our thriving as a human for our brain to reward us with dopamine. Nowadays, it's very different. Using the same chocolate chip cookie jar example, the new way, because of the technology that we have at our fingertips and other devices, we can now reward ourselves with dopamine at any time we choose. So oftentimes people, right when they first wake up, they check their phone, they check Instagram, they check notifications, the likes, all that. That's the dopamine hits immediately. And they immediately go eat a sugar-filled cereal, or they partake in other things that artificially is creating dopamine to take place in the body. The problem with that is, as you can imagine, if I were to give you a chocolate chip every minute of the day from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, the first 10, 15 minutes, for some people, half an hour, is going to be great. I'll take another chocolate chip. Sure. Perfect. No problem. But after a while, it's going to make you feel sick. It's going to make you feel tired. It's going to make you feel kind of numb. And that is the problem we're currently having with dopamine, is that it's somewhat of a dopamine overdose. I think we can all agree that a chocolate chip cookie, this larger reward at the end of the day, having one per day, is probably a much better feeling, much larger feeling than having one chocolate chip every minute on the minute throughout the entire day. But that is how our dopamine system is currently being ran. And it's something that I believe is destroying us on the inside. And so as we go back to this graph here, these were the, not graph, excuse me, but the images that we have here for dopamine. The old ways, this is how we were rewarded. This is how our brains rewarded the rest of our bodies. And these are new ways: alcohol, vaping, corn hub. I think you can get the reference of what I'm referring to there. I just can't put it online like that without being flagged. Social media, video games. All of these new ways are related to an old way. So if we look at hunting, look at adventure, those are the same things that video games are now simulating, or trying to simulate, to say the least. It's releasing a certain type of dopamine that is part of the brain that we used to have through doing real life things that made our lives actually better. And then now it's just behind a screen. Instagram, that is the community like we used to have here, the community engagement rewarding us for whatever that may be. If you post a picture, getting tons of likes, it's the same type of dopamine release taking place to a lesser extent. The same thing we used to have a nutritious meal, a steak, whatever that may be. That is now being taken by artificial food, by alcohol, by vaping, and so on. And of course, sex back then is now being replaced with corn hub. So the problem with that is that we are using rewards differently than how they're meant to. So what I believe will happen is that we won't strive to improve if the reward is easy. If we keep on having chocolate chips every single minute on the minute throughout the entire day, there's no point in getting the chocolate chip cookie. We've actually lost all ambition and motivation to work towards an entire chocolate chip cookie at the end of the day, because we're getting the reward no matter what. It may be a little bit less because it's only one chocolate chip instead of a whole cookie, but it's constantly being fed at every single moment of the day. That by the end of the day, there's no point to do anything other than just sit around. And so I've seen this in my own personal life when I spend the most time on social media, when I spend the most time ordering Domino's pizza or smoking weed or drinking. It removes nearly all of my ambition and motivation to strive for anything. And I believe this is something that isn't aligned with how our minds and bodies are made to function. And I think it's led to negative ripple effects amongst our entire society. And so I want to look at first kind of the individual effects this type of social media usage and phone usage is having on our lives, and also the collective level, right? So if you look at individually, there's two things that come up, I believe, very commonly nowadays. And that is the first being compulsive checking, the second being focus or lack thereof. So individually, I see all the time this constant compulsive checking, and people are doing it while they should be with their family. If you look at any park nowadays, you'll see the kids playing while the parents are on the park bench scrolling Instagram or TikTok, whatever that may look like. And it's not only depriving them or robbing them of the precious time they could have as their kids are growing up, and it's also depriving them and robbing them of the core memories that'll take shape when they were older. If you ask anyone who is in a retirement home or on their last few years of their life, they'll be reminiscing on the times when they're able to play with the kids at the park. Nowadays, it'll be a much different image because they're not playing with their kid. They are scrolling on their phone. I think the same happens to work. It's very hard for us to stay focused at work because every 2 minutes, notifications going off on our phone that we need to check. Another thing would be while we're driving. Nowadays, I think it's very scary when, especially in America, when we're going 65, 70 miles an hour on the freeway, and then we look over to our right and we see someone going the exact same speed, but they have one hand on the wheel and the one hand scrolling on their phone. It's kind of insane to me. And it's obviously led to a lot of car accidents, some deadly car accidents, and some even just fender benders. More than likely, one person is going to be or have been on their phone while that accident occurred. It's very sad to see. Another thing, I kind of alluded to this when we're talking about work, is focus. I believe focus is our most important skill that we can hone as humans. focus is the key to anything you ever want in life, whether that's physical fitness goals, whether that's business goals, whether that's focusing on your family, focusing on anything. We need it to survive and thrive as humans. But we are nowadays depriving ourselves of our ability to focus. And in the past, I used to think, it's not the big of a deal if I just check my phone real quick while I'm studying or doing homework or working. But it is a much bigger deal than you think, because we're not robots. It's not like here that we look at the notification for 3 to 5 to 30 seconds and then we come right back and we're back in it. That's not the case at all. It takes much more time than I ever believed it did to regain our level of focus that we had prior to notification. Recently, studies have come out that shown that it takes 23 minutes for us to kind of hone back in and zone back in, on what we were doing before. And so if we work an 8-hour day, but we have multiple interruptions every few minutes, good luck getting any real meaningful deep work done. And over a long enough time horizon, it'll be very hard for us to hit our goals, to build anything meaningful in life. So that's some of the problems I believe are coming up individually for people. Collectively, I believe this is having ripple effects amongst the entire society. And on this PowerPoint slide right here, I have a lot of terms that are being thrown around a lot recently that I really want to give you my point of view on and what I believe is actually happening in society that many of us aren't completely aware of. There's one word that goes around a lot to describe this subject, and that is the algorithm, highlighted in red right here. The algorithm is the software, it's referring to the software algorithm that has been created for every unique avatar who uses these social media products. Algorithms are used amongst all different types of programming, and that's how our phones are made and laptops are made. But in particular, social media, we have a certain algorithm that is sole focus is to predict our human behavior and to show us things that will lead to us being more attentive and spend more time on these products, on the Instagram, on the YouTube, on TikTok. After doing more research on it and after watching interviews with Mark Zuckerberg and really getting to the bottom of how these algorithms were created by the first ever developers, I genuinely believe it wasn't to be done maliciously or by someone evil. It was simply a product that was created to generate the most profit possible for these businesses. It didn't have a certain lean towards any political party or any evil comparison to good, whatever that may look like. I simply believe they are empty vessels. And depending on the avatar, that avatar referring to as the person that's using it, it will curate the content in a way that will have us give it more of our attention. And since the dawn of times, since the printing press, or even before then, we even started the newspapers and on the television news and the radio and now social media, if it bleeds, it leads. The reason for that is our ancestors back in the day, if there was ever something that could possibly harm our survival, whether it was a lion or tiger approaching our tribe or a complete different tribe approaching our tribe that could potentially try to kill everyone or overthrow, whatever that may be, what used to be legitimate, real threats caused us to have a fear response. And when fear is on our minds, we are extremely attentive to what we're fearful of. Because in the past, we needed to be attentive to every move the lion made so that we can better understand how to protect ourselves. That still applies to today. But sadly, when we have this machine in our pocket that can show us everything bad going on in the world amongst every human at any given time immediately, that leads to our perception of fear being completely different. So it doesn't matter if you're in America and on the news is something going on as like a bomb in Afghanistan. We can't associate it being on the other side of the world having nothing to do with us. We see it as something that's happening right outside our window. That's just how our minds work, because we like to think we're more advanced than we really are, but we still have a monkey brain that still engineered for survival. So sadly, what will happen over time, because every human is different, every human has different opinions, we have different preferences and things that we fear. And so a Democrat's going to fear a lot of different things about the other opposing side than a Republican would do. No matter what camp you are in, whether it's political or in any aspect of life, there are going to be things that you're more fearful of than others. And so that empty vessel that is trying to predict your human behavior to keep you as focused as possible is going to show you things that make you fearful, or at least that just prolongs your time spent in those applications. So what that leads to is every single human having a distorted worldview on how society works. And when you have a distorted worldview on how society works, family members, friends, people of your community that for your entire life you loved, you trusted, and despite not maybe agreeing with everything that they may agree with, you had a mutual respect for each other. Nowadays, because we've been forced down kind of rabbit holes that make us on the far left and the far right, or resorted us to the extremes, you'll see more fighting at Thanksgiving amongst aunt and uncle that now don't get along, even though they did in the past, or that maybe, I think we've all seen it in some way. And when I go back into Western society, especially even here on a small island in Bali, you can see that people are a lot more on edge because their perception of the world has become more fearful because of these apps. To be honest with you, statistically, the world is safer than ever. And if you go outside right now, it's a very good chance that the people that you surround are going to be safe people that don't want to do you any harm. But our view on society has so dramatically changed because we believe what's on our phone is our reality, that it has caused an immense amount of division, that if we continue doing what we are with our attention being focused on the internet for the most part, it's going to lead to reality that I don't believe any of us want. So I believe it's incredibly important for us to take the time to disconnect with these devices and reconnect with the real world. I promise you, if we were to take the 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever your phone day usage may be, and other than scrolling Instagram, we were to take walks outside, call an old family member, sit in silence, read a classic fiction novel, work on a business, and we replace our social media usage with things that make our life better, we will live a happier, fulfilled, more enjoyable life that will also cause less division to take place. And so, on an individual level, when it comes to our focus and time, and on a collective level, I believe redefining our relationship with technology is the only way we can create a future that is worth living in. And so I took this first step a handful of months ago, and it made a huge difference in my life when it comes to how I spend my time and also just overall my mental and emotional health. And I want to share it with you. So thank you for tuning into this small PowerPoint presentation on why I believe a digital detox is needed. And if you're interested in completing the entire program with the step-to-step 14-day absolutely free program to help you redefine relationship with technology, I'm going to make it the first link in the bio here that you can click on, and you can get access to all the videos, all the presentations, so you can start your own journey, changing your life for the better. So thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to producing more content like this going forward.